On the app formerly called Twitter, now called X, there are many pieces going on there right now about the 2025 NASCAR schedule, and I believe we got it all. So let's take a look at it. For the regular season next year, on February 2nd, they're going to have the Clash in Bowman Gray Stadium. And this right here is a very big deal because they're not having to travel out west for a non-points paying race at the beginning of the year. And they're obviously going to tear up tons of equipment and machinery. So why not just keep it close to home and save a little money along the way? Then you got the duels in Daytona, then the Daytona 500. I believe this is going to be the last year with it being on President's Day weekend because the NFL is having discussions about potentially having an 18-game season, and that will push things back. And so very curious to see what happens moving forward with the Daytona 500. Then you have Atlanta, the Circuit of Americas, Phoenix, Las Vegas, Miami is back to the early part of the season like it was in 2020, but they raced in June in 2020. I guess you can call that early. Martinsville, Darlington, you got Bristol, then you got the Easter break. I am glad NASCAR is doing this. The teams and everybody out there deserves a week off, if not more than one. But NASCAR feels like one's enough, and it's on Easter Sunday, giving them time to spend with family and loved ones. So I really like this decision by NASCAR. Then you come back to Talladega, you're going to tear up a lot of machinery there. Texas, Kansas, North Wilkesboro, which is the All-Star race, Charlotte, Nashville, Mexico City. Everybody, please keep Kyle Busch in your prayers, if you know what I mean. Michigan after that, Pocono, Atlanta, Chicago, and then you got after this Sonoma in the middle of July. I feel bad for the fans attending that race. It is going to be extremely hot there. And then you got Dover all the way in July. I'm really not a big fan of this. It's usually a good race in mid-April to late April, but I feel like July is a perfect date for it. I don't like that at all. Then they're going back to Indianapolis to race on the oval. This past year when they raced, it was awesome. So if it's not broke, don't fix it. But though they did not shut the door completely on bringing back the road course on a every other year basis. So have 1 year on the oval, 1 year on the road course, if you know what I mean. Iowa is keeping a date in August. And then you got Watkins Glen, Richmond, and Daytona. And Daytona is now back to the regular season finale. And this right here is just going to bring more chaos into the picture because this year is Darlington. Don't get me wrong, Darlington is a very tough track, but the driver that's going to win that race is going to be one that's expected to win that race, not like Daytona. So I'm glad we're seeing Daytona back as a regular season finale. And then after that, you got the playoffs starting, the round of 16. Darlington, St. Louis, and Bristol. Three very different but very similar tracks. Darlington's very tough. It is a 500-mile race, the Southern 500 as it's known. And it's a crown jewel race, so you're going to want to win that. St. Louis, you really don't know what's going to happen there. A team from the previous year may dominate and may come back the following year and just suck because it's all about setup. And if you nail it, you're good. If you miss it, you're off big time. Then you're going to have Bristol, 2 crown jewels in the first round. That is very chaotic to me. They should to spread that out somewhat. When you got New Hampshire in the round of 12 on the best day of the year, September 21st, my birthday. All right, Kansas, I'm in the Charlotte Roval, and that means the Oval is not coming back for the playoffs yet. Maybe. Fingers crossed in 2026, and if they do bring it back in 26 in the playoffs, I would like to see a yearly rotation of that in the Roval. The Roval, it does provide pretty good racing, but at the end of the day, though, the next gen car is suited for ovals and not road courses like the old car was. Las Vegas, Talladega in the round of 8. That is going to be very chaotic. It's kind of going to take the excitement out of it because we had it usually early on in the playoffs, and maybe a driver that you wouldn't expect to make it into the next round would. And at this point in time, all the drivers that you expect in a round of 8 are going to be there. And then you got Martinsville and Phoenix as the championship race. But there you go. That's not official, but it's the unofficial schedule.